Open up the champagne, pop.
All right, welcome to another edition of Next Generation Tech Talks. I'm Phil Calzadilla. I'm the CEO and founder of NextNet Partners, and I am very pleased today to have a very special guest. This gentleman has an amazing background, has been in the IT industry, we'll just say over 15 years, because if you get anything over that, you sound too old. But has basically came from U of A, which we'll forgive him for that. But coming out of U of A, he went right into the tech business, worked for McData, was at Cisco back in 2002 as a data center specialist, worked as a global account manager for Boeing, was a regional manager where he and I first met here in Phoenix, then was client director at GM, director of North American sales for a company called Nicira that wound up getting acquired by VMware. And now probably some of the most exciting place within Cisco to be at today is in the Hybrid Cloud Services Group. We have the VP of Sales for Hybrid Cloud Services from Cisco Systems, Ryan Macban. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for welcoming me, Phil. It's great to be here. And, look, I have that history you just walked through. It's amazing. It's been that long, and I've had that many opportunities to evolve my career and to see where technologies come from, starting as a data center PSS with that acquisition of Andiamo back in the day to where it's at now.
Yeah,
really. It's
amazing, right? A lot of things have changed quickly. I got to tell you, the hybrid cloud services within Cisco is the place to be, right?
It is. It's always nice to have some deep pockets, and I had the opportunity to reach into those with the acquisition of MetaCloud.
Right.
And we'll get into what MetaCloud is here in a minute. But having made that acquisition, it closed in September of 2014, and to really see where Cisco's taking that now, looking at using it as its platform to deliver all of our as-a-service offerings, starting with WebEx, ScanSafe, moving Meraki to it as well, looking at using it to deliver things like VMS for our SP space as well, so all of the network services that now can be delivered in a virtualized type instance, as well as what we're doing with hybrid cloud and delivering really parity what we can deliver on-prem as a cloud experience, similar to what you can get from third-party type offerings, as well as what you can get in a hosted environment and through our partners.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the MetaPod product, which is not a Pokemon, right?
That's right.
It's a very cool product that comes out of this hybrid cloud services group, correct?
That's exactly right. So we took that MetaCloud acquisition, we've rebranded it to be MetaPod. And what we do with this service is we deliver a public cloud experience in your data center or in a customer's data center in their four walls or in a hosted environment of their choice. And there again, we do so with a 4.9's SLA, and we use open source cloud technologies based on OpenStack to do so.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. I know the entire team at NextNet is extremely excited about MetaPod, and it's one of our big bets this year, which one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is to really make sure we can talk about it, and having you here today to talk about it is just fantastic. So tell me, I try to break things down in these podcasts to try to keep them simple, right? So people understand. Give me kind of the high level of MetaPod. What does it actually, is it a cloud in a box? I just pop it in and now I've got cloud on premises?
Yeah, no, so great question. I'll tell you, we've heard from Thomas Bittman, who's at Gartner, and look, in our career, right, we've had good times and bad times with Gartner, depending upon where you sit. But he came out with one of his reports in 2015 and said, look, 95% of private clouds fail, right? And there's a lot of reasons for that. But as we look at it, that's why we've seen this massive growth in things like AWS and Azure and Google. And it's not that customers actually wanted to go there to begin with. They wanted to try and deliver a public cloud experience, but do so on-prem. So what we do with MetaPod is we actually deliver that. With a 4.9's SLA, we provide full remote monitoring and servicing with over 1,000 sensors in the platform. We offer it with the ability to scale up to 500 nodes, which, Phil, is well over 100,000 VMs equivalent capability. Right. We offer it from full compute, network, and storage. And we're also in the process in delivering this to provide things like SOC 2 for compliance, to to the line of business, as well as we have a roadmap for PCI. And you should assume that we'll continue to do that going forward.
That's great. And it fits in so well. So our strategy at NextNet, one of the things we're looking at when we have this strategy we call Stratosphere. And basically it's trying to be above the clouds, right? We're very creative. Above the clouds. So we're Stratosphere. And what we're doing is trying to help clients, and we're looking at three things. The three things are, number one, what are the economics for the client, right? Number two, what's the business outcomes that they really require? And number three, what is the security and compliance requirements at that client? That's a very high level of view. There's a lot actually detail beneath all that. But you actually talked about all of that and what you just mentioned. Those are the three things that kind of drive, right, people to cloud.
That's right. And we're seeing this more and more where, look, we've had success with our acquisition of WebEx, which I know you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a ton of success with Meraki as well. And look, wireless has been around for quite some time. We're seeing customers move from building to that of wanting to consume. So to your point, where they can be above the cloud, right? And really focus on delivering the services that deliver that business outcome for their customers. Right. Whether that be, look, in environments now, and you'll hear this too from Lydia Leong, who's at Gartner, there's two environments that are really shaping up inside of what I would call traditional enterprises or commercial accounts that we're used to working with, right, which is a mode 1. Those are those heavy VMware or bare metal environments that support system of records, the Oracles, right, the SAPs, and they're very locked down, and they have, ITIL requirements and auditing requirements, and that's great. But we're also seeing this need for continuous integration, more agility, continuous development. These are to support some of those new applications. We're seeing hyper growth in the mobile application space, and we've seen some partners make some acquisitions there to focus on that.
Yep.
We're seeing massive content requirements. Anything that requires hyperscale or cloud native, and you'll hear that. Cloud native workloads don't have any requirements to the underlying infrastructure. That is much different, and they're making changes potentially every hour, every day, every week, and so that's much different than that mode 1 type. And so you'll hear mode 1, mode 2, and that will continue for quite some time.
Yeah, Gartner talks about that specifically, right, where people are within those models. This is a very serious strategy for you guys, right? Hybrid cloud to Cisco. I mean, this is a big bet for you guys on your side, right?
It absolutely is. In fact, there again, so seeing what we've done with MetaCloud acquisition, using it as our platform internally, not only for our as-a-service offerings, what we're doing within the SP space with the virtualized managed services as well and VMS, and then that last piece with this hybrid. And really, there's a lot of conversation around hybrid and what that means. For us at Cisco, it means parity at both ends of the wire, whether that's in your data center or data centers around the world in different regions, or whether that's in a partner's hosted facility, but it's the same experience, it's the same bits on both ends of the wire, so you're not stuck, right?
Yeah,
if you want to get started and you have some developers that want to go out and use 10 VMs, great, go ahead and get started. If you get to a scale where it makes sense to capitalize that and to bring it back, and you do have some power, space, and cooling, go for it. If you're in a different region where you don't want to build a data center, great, go find one of our partners, spin up a MetaPod, you're all set. And if you do get business takes off, things go well, moving on-prem.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so tell me about, financially, the financial aspects of MetaPod and hybrid cloud strategy. I think when I talk to clients today, they're under the belief that their public cloud strategy is cheap. It's the way to go. Until they see the bills after a while where they're paying, I have a client right now, $300,000 a month, $600,000 a month. They're seeing crazy numbers. What are your thoughts around public cloud here on this?
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest misconception is that it's cheap, right? The reality is we have customers that were born in the cloud. Uala, Tapjoy, and there's many others, and I'll talk about them if we have some time.
NextNet was born in the cloud.
There you go, right? And so we're seeing that they get to a point where they say, this is cost prohibitive, right? We have to look at some other options. It doesn't mean we're fully moving away from the public cloud,
right, but
how do we lower our expenses but get that same level of experience? And that's where MetaPod really comes in, right? So we have customers like Tapjoy and Uala who have received anywhere from 3 to 5x savings, yet the same level of service, the same capabilities for the development staff to actually go and do that. And we're seeing it more and more. In fact, I had a customer who had delivered a private cloud, had considered saying, okay, if I was to staff this and have a follow the sun type model, I would have to hire 22 FTEs in order to do that. His response was, I can buy a lot of Metapod for that.
Oh, yeah. That's hilarious. So talk to me about the open source portion of this, because you haven't really hit on that, and that is kind of a key piece to this whole Metapod.
It is. So we use OpenStack as our cloud software platform. Think about analogous to Linux for an operating system. For Cloud Suite software, that is exactly what OpenStack is. Thousands of developers. In fact, there's another OpenStack Summit where we get together every 6 months. It's in Austin this year. We've evolved. I would say OpenStack has evolved, but it's in a point now where folks are looking for, there again, instead of trying to build this, and it's difficult to do on your own, let me consume it, provide me some SLAs to it. Hey, that compliance thing you talked about, Phil, with those outcomes, very important to me.
Right.
And what we found is that if we can do that, and we have, right, with multiple customers, they're saying, I'm in, right? Let's get started. Because it's really difficult there, again, to do by yourself.
Oh, yeah. And so talk to me about on the OpenStack portion of this. So, Cisco has looked at, hey, this is all going to work together. We're going to test it. We're going to make sure that this is strong, right, and enterprise class, and we're going to put this out, and we're going to manage it for you and make sure that it's consistently working, right? That's a big difference than trying to put your own OpenStack project together, and making everything work and then putting that in your data center. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And look, make no mistake, we still offer a DIY model if somebody wants to buy that. It's called UCSO. We believe, though, that as customers want to move, and it's all about speed. And one of our customers is Disney, who Chris Lonnie spoke at the OpenStack Summit a couple years back. They've been in production for quite some time. He said, look, it's all about speed. And we were able to stand up that cloud level experience in 2 weeks or less. And he's like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And we've had nothing but growth since then.
Nice. That's great. I mean, that is, and the fact that you've got other options, right? So, I mean, obviously you're on the hybrid cloud side, but if a client wants to mix it up a little bit and do on-prem with something on their own products, or maybe even use, let's not say VMware, but use VMware, they can do the HyperFlex, for example, or some other product lines that they can still pull in and have that if they have workloads that need to be on that, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And look, there's still a lot of growth in those areas, and we will continue to support that. As you mentioned, HyperFlex.
Yep.
That converged storage platform is exactly where we want to be.
Yep.
And make no mistake, it pulls through a lot of hardware, as does Metapod. So, back to the open source piece, though, and open nature of it, we have a controller head end that's pretty locked down. And is it Cisco geared? Yes, it is. But you can put anything behind that you would like to. Now, we're going to provide incentives, clearly, right, to sell UCS behind that.
Sure.
But in the spirit of openness, we do have customers that are using things like Supermicro and white box servers to sit behind that, and it's working.
Yeah. So talk to me about the services layer component of this, because I understand that's a key piece, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting. When we started, we just focused on the IaaS portion, right? So IaaS is compute, network, and storage.
Yep. Infrastructure as a service.
Yep. Delivered that fantastic with those 4 nines. We've now partnered with folks like Apprenda. And I don't know if you've heard of those folks or some of the folks that are out here listening to this. Very focused on those Microsoft-heavy applications, the .NET platform. We've also announced the relationship with Pivotal, which is a commercial version of Cloud Foundry.
Sure.
And what you have is you have a lot of these folks that are still in that Mode 1 environment that want to, quote, refactor or make those apps become cloud native. And so they're working with those PaaS layers in order to do that.
That's
and we have both of those on our price list today, and those work flawlessly on top of Metapod.
Yeah, and the services piece really allows someone like, for example, you were talking about U of A earlier, right? Allows someone like them to offer that automated type service they would get from like an Amazon or someone else, right?
That's right. And what's great about the platform, the Metapod platform itself, is it integrates with one's Active Directory environment. You can set up multiple work groups. As an administrator, you can set some limitations as to how much capacity a work group can have. And it's, it's pretty simple once you've done that. And there again, their students and the folks that are out there developing down at the U of A can have as much capacity as they want to. And when the project's done, we'll wipe it away, we'll
Nice.
start over again, give it
Nice.
to somebody else.
That's great. So, and another piece of this is the whole container portion, right? So how is that evolving here, and how do you see that going for the market, especially with Metapod?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's at the point where we first started with IaaS, then it's the PaaS layer we talked about, and we are starting
Platform
to see
as a
that.
service,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's two really projects that Cisco's working on. One is Mantle, another one is Shipped, where we're putting together all of the automation tools to support the Dockers and the Kubernetes, which is really kind of the two major container, if you will, subsets.
Right.
And in doing so, that too will work on top of the Metapod platform. In fact, we can support that today. So
Nice.
we're starting to hear about it. The folks like Yahoo, the Googles are writing now apps leveraging containers and the microservices that may sit behind that.
Yep.
There again, no requirement for the underlying infrastructure. It can run anywhere. It moves around. It's a full,
Yep.
atomic unit, if you will, right,
Right.
of measures. So we're seeing it. It's starting to get there, but it's more of, hey, with this platform, can I do that when I'm ready? Yes.
Yep. So on this particular solution with the Metapod, it's an as-a-service solution. It's physical. It's a little different than the WebEx is, but still, I mean, you guys have been in this business for a while. You had WebEx, Meraki, like you said, right? Talk a little bit about that. How does that work? What does a client see when they're using the as-a-service and its physical hardware now on site?
Yeah, so it starts with there again, you heard me mention the controller head end, right?
Yep.
The controller head end is set up of 3 UCS servers, 2 Nexus 9Ks, and where would we be without mentioning ACI? So
That's right.
Sony
Which
would
we
be
are
disappointed.
ACI certified.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have a roadmap in the end of this year, so in the July timeframe, to support ACI and the ACI construct as part of the MetaPod service,
Nice.
right? Which is great.
Great.
So it's the 3 UCS servers, the 2 Nexus 9Ks, so it's ACI enabled today, but it will support ACI. And first with the mapping of the EPGs to VLANs, so the policy work groups, right?
Right.
And then we also have 2 ASR routers to support, and this is very specific to OpenStack, but the Neutron plugin. So giving you plenty of network constructs to do the things that you want to do and you could do in a traditional enterprise type feel,
Right.
that you wouldn't get from an Amazon or the flexibility from a third-party cloud provider.
Yes, your enterprise class OpenStack with Cisco standing behind you, making sure that it's all working and that
That's it.
you don't have any issues.
That's it.
Yeah.
Really.
So talk to me a little bit about on the client side, like what and feel free to, you mentioned Disney, you mentioned some of the others now. So what are some of the, like, what are they actually solving? Like, are they, is it mostly a budget issue that we're solving here where we're getting rid of having to spend money on public cloud, or, what do you think is the key thing? Is it money or is it something else?
Yeah, so let's move up from the technology, right?
Right.
What I will tell you is
All business.
Yeah, it somewhat starts there, right? Because they're like, I'm spending too much money. You mentioned you have a client who's sending $600,000 or roughly, a month. That becomes cost prohibitive.
Right.
So they're like, okay, what other options do we have? Well, I can go back to my VMware environment, but there again, it's ITIL based. It's heavily focused on system of records. And that's not a continuous integration, continuous development. Okay, how do I get that? Well, then I need to look at things or options like a Metapod, right? Okay, perfect. Now, the use cases that we're supporting, folks that are delivering massive content and content distribution, like a Uala. We also have folks that are delivering a single application where it requires hyperscale. Mm-hmm. You heard me, you don't have to go far. You can look at your smartphone and your tablet and you can see all the apps that are available.
Yeah.
Those are all cloud native type applications. And look, every enterprise customer has one.
Right.
B of A, Wells Fargo, take your pick, right?
Yep.
USAA, they all have them. That's a great environment to put on top of a Metapod.
Yeah.
Big data is another one. A lot of these folks, Tapjoy, was thinking that, hey, we should do this on bare metal. It's very brittle. It's tough to do. So massive Hadoop-type clusters work very well on top of a Metapod-type environment.
Nice.
So here's just a few, Phil, and we're starting to see more and more. And as the apps are written in those containers there again, then there's no reason not to run it on like a MetaPod type infrastructure, right?
And what the clients, what I'm hearing from them is the requirements now are, hey, it's got to be mobile, right? It's got to be mobile first. If it's not mobile, my people are using mobile apps. They all are running around with iPads and iPhones, and they want to get to the data. They've got to be able to work either remotely or in front of a client or do whatever. And so it's only going to drive that more.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I got to tell you, this is a really great conversation on MetaPod. I think hopefully it was very, very useful. Any last thoughts from you that you want to make sure we touch on?
I just urge the folks to go out to Cisco's.com website and do a search for MetaPod and see all of the use cases, the customers, the testimonials, the videos. There's so much out there. And engage folks like yourself, right? Our partner community to go out and, hey, let's drive this. And if you have a use case, we have full TCO calculators. We've got customers you can talk to. Let's get started.
Yeah,
really.
That's great. Yeah, well, we're really excited about it at NextNet Partners, and we certainly have the resources and are investing heavily in making sure that we are able to help our clients in MetaPod, because we think this is a game changer. So thank you, Ryan Macban, for being here today, and look forward to everyone out there listening, catching our next show. Also, make sure to go to nextnetpartners.com for more info. We'll go ahead and turn this into a blog as well. So check out our resource center. There's a lot of great information there. Thank you for joining us.
And you know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay